Móna go das agus tá na dóir sé ruscail gom. Níl sé chur báistí. So I have the doors open. It's a lovely afternoon. And what I'm going to get cracking on at now is taking off this footboard here. So there's 3 13mm bolts holding that on. And then it's held on there by an 11/16 in there at the oil dipstick plate. And then I'm going to take off this brake rod here going back there. Have that much done. And then I suppose when I get the parts, I'll get the front axle rebuilt, get it on 4 wheels again, and I'll start getting wheels off in the back then, jack it up at the back, and I can do all the PTO work and the brakes then. So that's what I'll get cracking on at now. This bracket here is catching this brake rod, and it's kind of holding down the brakes. If I press them down, it kind of stays there. Whereas ideally you'd like these returning to the brakes off position. That's not ideal because, as you see, it's pulling the brake rods. So when I put on new brakes, even the weight of that will have them kind of working a little bit. So I think the footboard here is getting rubbed as well. Yeah, so that's not helping things either. So these are kind of aftermarket footboards. The footboards that would have been on originally wouldn't have attached to the mudguards. They'd have been a neater kind of a job. But these are lovely, in fairness, they're nice, and they do stiffen up the mudguards. So we'll leave them be. I've just got to figure out a little way, because this is bent as well because of this. I've got to figure out a little way to stop that rubbing in there, stop it rubbing there. It might involve lengthening that and putting a little bend in it, which would be no harm. Try and clear everything, try and get it maybe above that bracket in there. That's meant to be sitting above that. No, it's not meant to be sitting because that bracket actually is kind of like acts as a stop for this pedal. Now it's never going to go down that far anyway. So we have that's working. The spring is on the back of it there, so that's good. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to sort that. Be interesting. It'll be interesting. So there's a spring on the diff lock. This is 35X model, so it has a diff lock. I'll definitely put a spring on these brakes to keep them up. I did it on my own 35. It's just going to be a little bit challenging. We pull this out a bit now. If I could pull out that a bit out to here, it would help clear this, I'd say, or maybe we just catch it further back. So these are all the little things that I'm going to have to sort. So on a normal 35 non-X, this would be more so over there, and it would probably clear this footboard. So that's not an option with this because these mudguards are longer and they all bolt together there, nice and solid. So we'll leave that, but we will have to come up with some way of clearing this, because that's just going to keep our brakes kind of, it'll be hard for them to release. So anyway, we'll work out something. So let's get these 3 bolts out. I looked through my engine bolts. These are the same thread as these. And what I'm after doing is I'm after putting a little spacer in behind it. Now that's just a bushing, but I have some real strong spacers here that I can use, such as him. So I can cut him. He's a bit too long. I want to use that one. As I said, this is just something that I'm throwing in just to get an idea. And now if we watch what happens here, it's now not getting stuck anywhere at all. So I think that is how I'm going to get out of this. And because that's such a longer bolt, and I even have longer there if I need as well, it'll still be very, very strong. So I think that's how I'm going to get out of this. So all of a sudden we don't have brakes sticking, and I won't have to go bending at them, which is the best scenario. So that's it. Immature spacer. So for anyone else that has these footboards, they're a really nice footboard, and again they tighten up your stiffen up your mudguards. That is one way you can get out of having to having your brakes sticking, rubbing off everything. So the only thing that this needs now is a spring to keep it up, because that's going to have to get brakes working. So anyway, I take out the footboard now, and I'm going to have a look at getting the diff lock pedal off. So these are the type of footboards that would have been fitted originally, I would imagine. So now I can't get these to fit because there's not enough space in here for that to go up through for some reason, I think. Is there not? Right, maybe there is, yeah. So I'll just sit them on there for the crack, and we'll show you now how they look, the way they would have looked. But then you have these longer mud guards not meeting up, so they're fine on the likes of the Ferguson 20. You'll see over here I fitted them to the Ferguson 20. They're grand, and these were on the 35 when I bought it, so they're a neater job, but that's when the mud guards don't come down. So that aside, I'm going to go and try and get this pedal off now. I should get the diff lock pedal loose, so I can basically leave that there as I'm pulling out the brake rod, because it's on a spring there, so it'll hang. So I want to get this brake rod off here. I want to free all these up so they can be adjusted, so I have to take out this little split pin there. Now the biggest problem with these is, if you look at them, when they get stuck, it's hard to get them out from in there, because this is wider, obviously. It's hard. So you have to get your vice grips on there, and you have to twist it and put in plenty of your penetrating oil and all of that. So, and a lot of the time these split pins then can be completely and utterly rusted. So I think this one's coming. So if this comes out, we're getting somewhere, like. So let's see. So I have to get in by the other side of that, because it's widened, and give it a little straighten, and then try and pull it out. There, just straightened. I managed to turn it, taking the pressure off the brake, getting it to turn. So that's the bit we had to have straightened up. So now what we do is we get it to turn around again. So we get the long side out, and then all going well, we get our a little pliers on that, give them a twist, and it should come out. When these break off, it makes life very, very hard. This is a really big one, like you don't need them to be really, really tight in there. So this one's fighting a little bit. If it breaks, it'll create a bit of hassle now. So what I'll do is I'll turn it around again, have a look in behind it, and maybe, oh yeah, so it's not actually as straight as I thought it was, it's gone off to one side. So I'll straighten it up, and that should actually come out. There's the bio there now. So when I'm replacing this with a newer one, I'm not going to go for one as strong, because to be honest with you, you don't need them very strong. They only need to be, you need to hold that pin in. It's not going to go falling out, because you have a slightly thinner one of them. So a slightly thinner one of them means the next person that goes taking it out or wants to take it out, it'll be easier to bend them straight, it'll be easier to pull them through and all that. So that's half the battle. The next job is to try and get this pin out. Now again, these can be fairly well seized in there, so we'll try it with a bit of a twist with a vice grips or pliers. Or what I might do, rather than using that first, is I might just put in a grow bar in there, nail bar, try and just prise it out with a bit of a rag in against the casting. So what I'm going to try to do is take the minimalist approach first. Immature rag against that chassis, immature grow bar. Okay, no drama there. That was one of the easier ones. Excellent. Delighted with that. Put it back in there, and we'll stick this in just temporarily, just to hold it in. Again, that cotter pin's just way too thick. Okay, good. That was an easy one. My luck has run out with this cotter pin there. Can't get it out, so I call in my friend to give me a hand. Cutting disc, grand and neat. I'll be able to cut it nice and neat each side of the pin. The split pin will fall, and that'll make it easier to get it out. to cut the split pin off each side nice and neat. That little cutting blade, it's ideal. And now I stand a better chance of getting that pin out. What I'm also going to be replacing, this is just the brake pedal, so it's on this little hinge there, and that allows it then for both of them to work together. So I'm going to be replacing this little catch because it's in the Mighty's estate, so I'll leave that there. It came off nice and easy. So that goes up, and then you push him in then, and what it does is both of your pedals work. If you want independent brakes, like if you're ploughing or something like that, and you want to turn up the headland good and sharp, you take that off and you'll be able to just press one brake at a time. So that's good. So they're working. It's important that these are free as well from each other, so that's good. So I got the brake rod out. There it is there, and I had to cut it out with a hacksaw there. Unfortunately, there was no other way for it, so when I take out this shaft, I'm going to be able to tap him out and I can replace the pin. But this was very, very handy because it's such a slim, narrow blade that it just cuts exactly where you want it, and there's very little sparks from it as well. So that is another job done. So this seems to be turning free of this shaft here. So when you turn this brake shaft, I've never taken one of these off before because I never worked on 35X. So maybe this slides into the end of the shaft, I don't know, because when you turn this, it doesn't seem to affect this. We'll find out though. I have a feeling this is going to pull out of there. Okay, so nice bit of work done this evening now, stripping things down. There's a few things I can check actually. So the pin in there is not coming through that side. I have new pins there, so I might go and replace that. So straight away find another jobs to do. So I'm happy anyway with tonight's work so far anyway. It's gone smoothly enough, thanks be to God. The pin, and it was literally ready to fall out. I wasn't going through the whole way. So I have these in my own little part stash. Get it to focus. 135 pin shift lever. Pin for the shift lever. So this literally just was ready to fall out. I think actually that little rubber boot was probably what was holding it on. So it's well worn. So we'll open up these. We'll open up these new ones and see. They should do the job nicely. So yeah, some seen better days. I'd tell you what happened was it came out on one side and it started getting bent. So maybe the gears were hard to select for a while or something. Anyway, that's the bio we need to put in. So we'll try him for a fit and see if we can improve things. Line that up there, and I have a screwdriver sticking to the other side, just in case the gear lever decided I want to go moving downwards or anything like that. I know there's a spring underneath it, so what I'm going to try and do is tap it in and at the same time hold the screwdriver and slowly allow the screwdriver out as it taps in. That's the plan anyway. So I'm going to try it with a punch. And that little bit at the end is wider, and that's where it's hopefully going to catch in there. Now, so we'll take a look at the other side and make sure that that's gone right through. I know it's meant to kind of stick out a little bit, and you can just see it starting to come out there. So another little tap, and it'll just start hitting the little kind of wider bit there. You can kind of see the grooves on it, and that's designed, I suppose, to get a grip on the pin, and then that should, by rights, hold it in place. So I'm going to leave that there. We'll check it on the other side. Just as well I spotted that actually, because that could have fallen down into the gearbox. And look, we're just after coming through there, so I'll get a torch and just see how that looks. So that's it there, gone right through. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to give this dirt a clean out if I can, and we'll take a look at this one as well, may as well. Without saying, the best thing that you can put in there after you give it a clean out, I use one of them degreaser wipes. The best thing you can put in there is plenty of grease. And that'll stop your water and dirt going down and keep it nicely lubed up at the same time. Now I noticed as well, changing gears is a lot more smoother now as well with that. So we'll take off this grease boot now and have a look and see what condition the pin is in that as well. It's present and accounted for. So unless I can pull it out easy from this side, because you can't tap it, if I can pull it out, I will try and pull it out, fit a new one. But if it doesn't move, I'm going to leave good enough alone. It's always a good idea to get these brake rods loosened up here. There's a lock nut. Screw him back, and then this has to screw as well. Just to loosen, so that's too big. Get a smaller one. You want this to be able to be adjusted as well, especially when you saw earlier there that this one was getting in the way of the footboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screw him off, and I'm going to clean up the threads. So that is it off. So just a quick, it's important to put this back to where it was, that's the only thing. And then a bit of grease. That'll make its way down. We'll screw this back on. So I didn't clean right the whole way up because I want to bring this back to where it was. Now it's going on a lot easier than it came off. So I can see just where it needs to go back to, and we can bring the lock and nut back up to meet it. Right, that's where it is, and it's a 9/16, so it's bigger than the Ferguson 20. These are only a ½ inch nut on the Ferguson 20. We might have to make little alterations to this because of the footboard. So I'll bring it up roughly. That'll do. Solid finest. Take the end of it there with a bit of grease. That'll make it all the easier to take off the next time or to adjust it. So I'm going to do the same with the other brake rod. And what I usually do with these as well is label them left and right. So this is the other one. So come with the spanner first and loosen. That's okay. So coming lovely. Just loosen it a tiny bit so you can put it back to where it has to go and screw it off. This one's lovely. No need to clean up the threads on this. Looks like actually it was greased. So I'm happy with that. A bit of grease. I can screw it back home. And the camera's out of focus, lovely. Screw that back where it was. Give it a pinch with the lock. Roughly, that's all. Probably have to make alterations, little changes to the length of this. Just get it roughly right. Same thing, rub in a bit of grease, seal it all up there. It'll come off a lot easier next time. So that's the two brake rods ready for use. and easier to adjust.